bit about just what takes place in regard to the development of human life. You'd have thought there would have been no debate at all, because a 4-year-old could look at a 20-week-old and say that's a baby. That's right. And yet we were around that in the House and then ultimately in the Senate. And we know what happened at the end of the Senate. And whether or not certain people did things right or wrong, I mean, obviously everyone has an opinion on that. But here's the point, that we're living in a day when a group of people actually took over a part of government. And I was, when they took over the Senate, I was on vacation on the West Coast. And I saw that on television. And I have to tell you, it made my blood boil. And I got on the plane, came back to Texas, got up in front of our church, and I said, that isn't going to happen again. The next time the Senate votes, instead of all those people having those seats, we're going to have those seats. And so we took hundreds of people, buses and cars, and the other organizations in the state did the same thing. And it was a different picture the second time around when you looked at that gallery of the people who were in the gallery and the people who were standing in line waiting to get in the gallery in case somebody gave their seat up. The difference was that people showed up. That was the difference. And in my opinion, to keep Texas what it is, which is extremely important because we're in the crosshairs of those in this nation that would like to make Texas go the way other states have gone. I travel a lot. We have 2,400 churches, so I travel on the road a lot. And I don't have one friend that won't, on a regular basis, ask about Texas and what's happening in Texas and legislatively, where we've come and the things that we stand for in Texas. And not one of them, over time, wouldn't say that if possible, there are those who would change the things that we enjoy right now as far as the things we stand for in the state of Texas. If we are not only to retain what we have, to stand strong, not lose that, but to provide some leadership for the rest of the nation, it's going to require two things. It's going to require qualified people who run for office, who in the tough times aren't testing the political wind to see where they stand. And there's not a lot of people like that. Not a lot. We've just in the city of Houston gone through something called the Equal Rights Ordinance, and we have aggressively fought that. Just turned in 50,000 signatures to put that issue on the ballot. Very disappointing to me to behind the scenes deal with the city council members and watch them waffle all over the place on an issue that, you know, proof is put right before them, but they really don't care about that or what the people. So it's important that we have the right people running. And secondly, they can't win on their own. And so if we do the normal thing and just kind of either do nothing at all, which is what most people do in America, thinking everything will just somehow, I don't know what we think, but it'll be okay, or we just do a little, we may lose. And good, honest, qualified, trustworthy candidates with character and backbone will be either turned out of office or won't be elected to office because of that. So here would be my challenge to all of you before I introduce Steve. If the cause is worth it, and it is, it's worth it for the sake of your children and your grandchildren. The cause is worth it. It is, if the cause is worth it, then it is worth investing whatever it takes to win. So that when we have someone who, with confidence, we can send to the halls of government, who will stand on principle. You're not wondering if when push comes to shove and all the backroom dealing is going on, that maybe they're up for sale or not. You don't have to wonder about that if we send the right people. Then just maybe in our day, just maybe, we can begin to see a change taking place in the United States of America, and we can hold or even increase what we have in Texas than we enjoy here in this state. So when I met Steve, I watched his stand there, met him again in the Senate fight. He didn't have to show up for the Senate fight because he'd already done his job, but he did. And then subsequent to that, have sat down with him privately and talked about values and virtues and positions, things that are really important, that have to do with character. It's why I was willing to come today and to stand up and speak up for Steve. It's why I've had him at the church, had him share, recognized him publicly, asked him to share there to the congregation, because I believe in this day we need more than a few good men and good women to provide leadership for us in this hour. I think Steve Toth is that kind of man that we need in the Texas Senate. So would you welcome tonight Steve Toth?
So I was so focused today to get my 100 houses in that Laura called me up and said, we're having a party. I'm like, it's that late? So I'm so sorry I'm late. I want to thank Pastor Steve again. You know, it's so refreshing to be able to walk into a church where a pastor is not ashamed to speak the truth about what's going on in our culture. Why is it that you've got to turn on talk radio to get an idea of what to think about what's going on in our culture? Why are the churches so afraid to speak the truth about what is going on? Because we watch our culture just slip away. And as Steve said, it's not just cultural things. I was born in upstate New York, and I watched my dad have a very successful business as a little kid. And by the time 1965 came around, New York, which is the Empire State, which had a budget surpluses, low taxes, easy business regulatory atmosphere, even by then, it was all starting to slip away. In fact, it was New York, New Jersey, Illinois, California, and Ohio. Balanced budgets, budget surpluses. Look at where those states are today. Look where they are today. Texas's budget is growing at a meteoric rate. It's not sustainable. And unfortunately, we can't get people to come back home and speak the truth about what is going on there for fear that they'll anger the lobbyists, and if you anger the lobbyists, they're not going to give you any money. And then you're going to have to run a campaign where you're outspent 8, 9 to 1. That's how we are. We spent about $170,000 in that first round. My two top components spent $964,000 and $600,000. And our little $175,000, thanks to all of your hard work, diligent hard work, paid off. We employed the same software that is it Bart? Laura Beat Canner, is that his name?
Oh,
Brat. It's the same software package that Brat used to beat cancer with. Again, he was outspent about 13 to 1. Bob Dewell, who was beat by Bob Hall, it's the same type of software. He was outspent probably 12 to 1. We're using the same thing now. The grassroots is some really cool stuff that the Lord has provided for us to use. And in the last 2 weeks, we've had almost $110,000 in giving that has come into the campaign from individuals. And we're going to be able to put on a great campaign. We put out our first mailer this week. We've got people calling from as far away as Ohio, that are offering to help with phone calls. We've got people coming in from North Dallas that are going to come in and walk for us. I mean, God is providing and showing up in just a tremendous way. And I could not be more thankful for each and every one of you. We've got a tall order ahead of us if we're going to take Texas back. We have a near 2/3 majority in the House. Republicans do. A near 2/3 majority in the Senate. The Republicans do. Yet 2/3 of the legislation that moves through Texas is Democrat legislation. Does that make sense to anybody?
No.
We have got to send people there that are willing to stand up, speak the truth, come back here, and hold their elected officials' feet to the fire, and not just talk about how great things are all the time. Talk is cheap. We need people that are going to go work hard, speak the truth, come back here, motivate us, educate us, and send us with mission on how to get something done. And I'm so thankful for each and every one of you for your willingness to step up and help me with this. We're going to get something done, and I really think we're going to send a very, very strong message to the Austin lobbyists and special interest cartel that we, the people, still control Texas by God's grace. So I want to thank each and every one of you for coming out. We've got 2 weeks, 2.5 weeks, right, Laura? Right, and we're going to get right around 7,000 doors knocked on, and it's going to be exciting. I'm going Monday night to Tarrant County, Northeast Texas Tarrant Tea Party to speak. The group that helped Bob Hall win, Amy, you're going to get excited about this. They're going to be joining us. And so we're going to have, we only had one group that made more phone calls last round than us, and that was the Northeast Tarrant Tea Party. Northeast Tarrant Tea Party. It's just too many T's. So they're going to be joining us. It's going to be an incredible effort. I'm so thankful for each and every one of you. I'm praying for you. Please pray for me. And I'm excited to work with you. So. Laura for all the hard work. And did I just turn this off? Did I just turn this off?
You can't hear yourself.
I can't. I know.
That's why I'm
But you're doing an incredible job, and I appreciate you so much.
Absolutely. Thank you, Steve. Okay. So, grassroots. This is what you guys are. You guys are the grassroots. When you hear that, it's a good thing. Grassroots is we the people coming together and saying we want to pick the guy that we want to represent us. So how do we do that? We do that by volunteering. So, a few different ways. We've got sign-up sheets for this. So there's a few different ways that you can volunteer. One way is right now what we're doing is block walking. What that does is you take some push cards, and they're actually a little bigger there, and we're going to go get some in just a second, and a few yard signs, and you have a list that we'll give you, and you go and you knock on friendly, not everybody, friendly doors. And you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to pause for a second. Why don't we get some food, and then I'll tell you more about this, okay? So y'all come up and get some food, and then we'll talk more about how to volunteer, okay?
Okay, sounds good.